The story that we just heard in Luke's Gospel has been described by many biblical scholars as one of the most beautiful resurrection stories in the New Testament. It is a beautiful theological dramatization of one of the encounters of Jesus with the people since he rose from the dead. Luke wrote this gospel towards the end of the first century. And his community, his audience, they were going through harsh persecution. Some of them were leaving faith for fear. They had lost hope. His audience, they had not seen Jesus in the flesh after resurrection, and for that matter, even before the resurrection. It's been like 50, 60 years since Jesus' death and resurrection. And so the most compelling evidence for these Christians was not the empty tomb, but it was Jesus' appearance to the people after his resurrection. That's what strengthened them in their faith during their persecution. That's why we have a beautiful story of Jesus walking with his two disciples. This episode has profound richness for all of us. Look at these two disciples after experiencing Jesus' crucifixion in Jerusalem. They run away with so much in their heart. They are all heartbroken. Fear, anger, anxiety, confusion, abandonment, hopelessness. Look at all these feelings they are harboring in their heart. And they're running away to a place called Emmaus, running away from their problems. I think all of us can relate to that. We go through these kind of feelings in our life sometimes. In the conversation, they say, we were hoping that he would be the one. They just became hopeless. Their hopes were dashed. We go through those kind of feelings. We were hoping that our marriage would not be this way. We were hoping that we would be cured of these illnesses or sicknesses that we go through or our loved ones go through. We were hoping that our grown-up adults would not live their way as they live now. We were hoping that we would not get into these kind of addictions or our loved ones. And we try to run away to a place called Emmaus. Emmaus is a symbol of our life in despair, in pain, in distress. But the good thing that was happening to these two disciples were that they were not lonely. There were two of them. And that is the beauty of facing these feelings. Look at what happened to Judas. Judas had the same kind of feelings after betraying Jesus. Despair, hopelessness, guilt, shame, abandonment. Unfortunately, he found himself alone, which eventually led him to his death. But lucky for these two disciples, they share. And moreover, they find a stranger on their journey. As they run away, they find a stranger, Jesus, who invites them to share what's going on. Why are you looking so disappointed? Why are you downcast? Jesus invites them to share what's going on, what you're feeling. And they share all their feelings. It's a beautiful journey of recovery. Not alone, but with the help of friends, with the help of family, with the help of the greatest friend, Jesus. And that's what Easter is all about. Easter represents the season of rebirth, new life. Sometimes, 2 weeks into Easter, we can take for granted the resurrection, the new life. That's why Luke tries to remind us again and again by Jesus' appearances to the people, how Jesus wants to be a companion in their journey. Jesus wants to be a companion in our own journey, especially in our brokenness. When we feel that we are broken-hearted, it's in their brokenness that Jesus relates to them. Again, when they go to their village and sit for their supper, Jesus breaks the bread. And in that brokenness, they recognize Jesus. They're able to relate. As Jesus explained, yes, the Messiah should suffer. The Messiah has gone through all these sufferings, hardships, abandonment, hopelessness. So they were able to see, this stranger was able to relate to us, sympathize with us, understand us, gave us hope, made us feel one with him. And they recognize in Jesus' brokenness. Then what happened? They run away from Emmaus, run back to Jerusalem. And they want to break themselves out of joy, out of love for Jesus. They go and tell the story, share the story. They want to help others by breaking themselves up. It's a beautiful symbol. Emmaus is a beautiful symbol of our journey when our life takes an ugly, ugly turn. That is Emmaus. Therefore, we should always never try to be like a Judas, make ourselves in isolated, but always have people on our journey, including Jesus. That's where our hope gets renewed. That's where we find our strength. That's where we find our Easter, the new life. So as Jesus promises us his companionship, especially in our brokenness, in our darkness, let us draw strength, let us draw hope and comfort in the fact, in the thought that he is with us and he wants to assure us of his love, of his companionship.